think we're back now and we can start sewing. So this is my side dart. I'm going to start with that. So I'm going to pick like this. I'm going to pick from the center point like this, and I'll sew, ensuring that one side of the dart meets the other one here. So if you're unsure, you can pin. You can pin like this and just sew. So that's what I'm going to be doing now. So that's one dart done, and I'm going to go on to sew the second dart. So I'm going to pick it as well, ensuring that the two sides of the dart meet, something like this, and then I'll start sewing. I'm cutting all my excess thread as I go, so that when I'm done sewing, the dress does not have thread hanging everywhere. So I'm just going to repeat the same process for the lining. I'm going to also go ahead and sew my dart. I'm trying to match the two. I need to change my needle. It's beginning to unpick my fabric. I'm just repeating the same process all the way. So I'm sewing on my side dart. So my side darts are done. This is what it looks like. Don't mind, I'm going to change this needle. My sewing needle is bad already. It's unpicking the fabric, even though it didn't unpick this one. But yeah, I don't know if you can see, but this is my side darts after I've taken it in. These are my side darts. Let me check if I have my needle here. It's far away. Oops, I don't have anyone. I'd have loved to just change the needle. So now that I'm done doing that, I'm going to turn my neckline with the lining. So I'm going to match my neckline. Let me get my pin. I have my pin now. I'm going to pin my necklines together. The sewing allowance I'm using for my neckline is 0.5 inch, so I'm going to sew that in now. So the foot of my sewing machine here has 0.5, 0.25, 1 inch mark. So it's easy for me when I'm sewing. I know what exactly I'm doing. So I'm just checking to be sure my lining is doing well under. I'm cutting the excess threads, and I'm going to notch my neckline so that when I flip it to the wrong side, it's going to sit right. Be careful when you are doing this so you don't over snip. So we're done. This is what it looks like. We're done with the neckline for the front. So now we're going to move on to the back. The front and the back is very identical, so I am doing this. Hello everyone, I'm just seeing your chats. I didn't see them earlier. Hello, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining me. Cindy, thank you so much. Thank you very much. Hello. Test is saying hi. I'm saying hi. Thank you for joining. So this way it's easy for me to identify which one is the wrong side and which is the right side. So I'm going to be using my lining to turn the neckline of the back. So this goes to this. And I'm going to pin each one. It's very good to pin, because if you are not careful, sometimes when you are sewing, the fabric under most times will tend to become shorter than the one that is on top. So it's better you pin while you are sewing. So now that I've pinned my neckline, I'm going to start sewing. As I'm sewing, I'm checking under so that everything is in place. Oops. I'm not also going to sew the neckline of the second piece of the back. I'm going to pin as usual. And now I'll start sewing. I'm going to remove all the extra thread. And I'm also going to knot the back neckline. At this point, I need to iron each one of my pieces. So let me put up my sewing machine and then I'm going to iron. My iron is here, so I'll also iron right here. I don't advise you do this at home, but yes, to make it easy for me and I don't have to be moving up and down, I would also iron here. So to iron, I'm going to iron my side dart first. Then I'll flip my lining out and then iron. But I'll start with my side dart. This part is very important. You cannot skip ironing. Iron is still warming up. Okay, so I'm done with the first one. See, everything is nice and smooth. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Everything is nice and clean. And now I can turn my neckline and iron that as well. All right. Let me show you what it looks like now. This is what my neckline looks like. That's on the wrong side. And this is it. See my boat neck. Ooh. This is my boat neck on the right side. So I'm just going to iron everything flat and nice. I'll set that aside. Oops. Okay. And now iron the neckline for the back. Okay. So this is what it looks like. And I'm going to iron it on the right side as well. So I'm done with one. I'll do the same thing for the other one. I'll flip it to the right side and also iron that. This step of ironing cannot be rushed because it determines the overall outcome. It is one of the important determinants of the overall outcome of your outfit. So now that I'm done ironing, I'm going to set my iron aside and you can continue sewing. Because we're working with a cut together sleeve, that's an extended sleeve, there is something I need to do I hope you can see this clearly. You see this after ironing, you see this, all these excesses. I have to cut them out. And this excess is because I folded in at the neckline and also, tilted the fabric inwards a little. This is so that your lining is not showing on the right side of your outfit when you wear it. So now that we've pushed in like this, there's an excess showing at this point, and we have to first trim that out. If you don't trim this out, it's also going to show on your neckline. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. Now that I've done this, there's one more step. And this step is something you do for when you are making sleeveless tops and extended sleeves like this. Because your sleeve is open around this area, would also have to reduce this lining part a little bit, so that when you raise your armpit, a bit of your fabric will show and not your lining. So basically, we are going to make the lining about 0.25 shorter than the actual fabric. At this point, they are about the same thing. I don't know if you get me. At this point, the lining and the fabric are on the same spot. They match perfectly. But now I need to trim out the lining a little bit, about 0.25, so that the fabric is longer than the lining around the armhole area here, about 0.25. So I'm going to do that now. So this is my lining. I'm going to trim out a little bit. So this is what I mean. Can you see it? The fabric is now longer than the lining, just a little bit. So when I'm done turning my sleeve, everything will sit right on the right side. You won't be seeing the lining poking out. So I'm going to just do the same for the second back. The same thing applies to the front as well. So I'm going to do the same for the front too. So what I'm doing is just to trim out. I'm trimming out the lining. Okay. I think this is okay. You need to be careful so you don't do it too much. Like I mentioned, about 0.25 is fine and you're good to go. So I've done that for the second back. I'm going to do the same for the front. I'm just going to trim out all the excesses. I'm trying to be sure everything is right before I start trimming. I'm pinning everything in place so that nothing moves when I'm trimming, and I don't end up over trimming. All right, now that I'm done pinning, I'll just trim out the excess on my, oh, I have a lot of excess here, so I'm going to trim that out first. Okay, so I've trimmed out the excess, and then I'll reduce the lining by 0.25 as we did for the back, and I'll do the same thing on the other side. So now that I'm done trimming, we can now start joining at the armhole. So I'm going to take one of my armhole, this is at the front, and I'm going to pick the back that matches. So this is my front and this is my back. I'm going to match them this way. I'm going to open up like this. Can you see? So the fabric is facing the fabric here, and the lining is facing the lining. So I'm going to pin that, ensuring that it matches right at this point. It's very important. When I'm sure everything matches well, I'll pin, and then I'll start sewing my shoulder line. Okay. So I've matched everything. I can start sewing now. Hello, Sharon, welcome. Hi, I'm just in your chat. Welcome, thank you for joining. So now that I've pinned my shoulder line, fabric to fabric, lining to lining, I'll start sewing. So this is what I have. I'm going to be ironing this place flat down, but I'm going to join the, let me flip it in so that you see what we have done. So this is what we have so far. This is our neckline, and this is our shoulder line. So I'm going to join the second shoulder, and then we can iron. So this is fabric to fabric. I'll open it up, and then we have lining to lining. So I'm also going to pin that, ensuring that they meet at the point where I join them together. Now that I've secured that, I will start sewing. So the next thing is I'm going to iron out my shoulder seam so that everything can lay flat when the outfit is done. I like to iron step by step like this because it is very important to me. So I'm going to iron this out. So let's set up for ironing. This my ironing cloth is very tired of me. It's very dirty from steam and different type of fabric colors. I need to wash it and dry clean it properly. So I think my iron is hot now. I'm going to spread my shoulder line, that shoulder seam. I'm going to open it up and iron. Hi Sharon. I'm not sure I exactly took notice of the time I started sewing actually, so at the moment I can't tell, but thank you very much. Thank you for your compliments. And because I am filming and sewing, it takes longer. If I wasn't filming, I'd probably be faster than this. So yeah. So I've ironed my shoulder line on the wrong side. I'm going to iron on the right side as well. Oh, now that I'm thinking about it, Sharon, do you mean how long I've been sewing as like as a profession? I'm guessing that's what you're trying to ask. It's about 5 years now, actually. It's about 5 years now. Don't mind me, I didn't think through the question properly before asking. It's been like 5 years since I started sewing. Ooh, can you see our sleeve, our shoulder rather, is looking very neat. I don't know if you can see. It looks very nice. That's why ironing is very, very important. I wish I can show you in one full view what it looks like, but really this is the neckline. This is the neckline. This is it on the wrong side. This is, in fact, I like the fact that I used this lining and not the dark blue. Thank you so much, Sharon. This is what my neckline looks like. It's very neat and beautiful. So I just finish up with ironing, and then we can sew the armhole. Okay, I think we're good with the ironing. We can go back to sewing. Okay, I'm going to set that aside. So for the armhole, the way we're going, let me put this off so it does not overpower my voice. So this is our armhole. What we're going to be doing is, I want to be sure I can show it properly. Where you have the shoulder joining here on the lining and the fabric, where you have this lining join, you are going to flip. Let me see, I'm trying to be sure that you can see properly so we don't miss it. So I'm going to turn, I'm going to match this joining here. I'm going to match it with the right side of my lining. So this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to flip it. So this is my shoulder line. I'm going to flip it like this. So that's, I'm going to match the right side with the right. I'm going to match the right side of my fabric with the right side of the lining. I'm going to do that again. I'm just trying to be sure that I'm communicating properly. So this is the back. This is the shoulder line. So I folded at the shoulder line. I'm going to open it up like this. And then I'm going to match the right side of the tip of my sleeve. This is the shoulder line. This is the extended sleeve line, right? I'm going to take this and flip it over. So I'll match the right side of my fabric, with the right side of my lining. I hope you get that. So I'm going to flip it this way and then pin. So this is what I'm basically doing. Can you see? I just hope it is clear enough. So I'm going to pin those. where the sleeve match. I'm going to pin those, and now I can start sewing from one armhole to the other. But because I like to sew front seam, that's I like all my seams to be invisible, I'm going to start sewing about 2 inches away from my armhole, so that I can, at the end of the day, be able to sew in all my sewing allowances. You see what I mean as I go. I don't want to complicate things by explaining further. So when I'm sewing, I'm going to start sewing from about 2 inches away from my armhole at the sideline. So I'm going to start from, I don't know if you can see this. So I'm going to start from somewhere here, and I'll continue sewing. So this is what I have. So I'm going to start sewing from somewhere here and not here. I'm also going to stop at about 2 inches at the other armhole. You see why I am doing that as I go. So this is what I've done so far. See, I didn't start from here. I started from somewhere here, and I continued sewing up to this point. So I'm going to notch that out because you need your armhole to sit in properly. So I'm going to use my scissors to gently, you have to be careful around here because it's the armhole. You don't want to eat into your fabric. So I'm going to gently start notching like this. So this is what I have done so far, and then I'm going to, okay, I hope you can see me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out my back from the front. So I'll pull it out this way. So at this point I have this fully tucked in. So this is what my sleeve would look like. So we're going to do the same thing for the other sides. I'm going to match the right side of my shoulder line with the right side of my lining. The shoulder line of my fabric, I'm going to match it with the right side of my lining, and I'm going to pin that. When I'm done, I'll start sewing 2 inches from my side line, somewhere around here. Top stitch. If you're asking about the armhole, I'm not going to top stitch. I am not going to top stitch. No, I'm in Nigeria. So I notch like this. And so from the front, I'm going to pull out the back. I'm going to pull out the back. And now this is what my armhole looks like. I'm going to iron that so that you can see, but you can see from here, this is what it looks like. Our lining is tucked in nicely. This is the back area. The lining is nicely tucked in. This is the armhole area. The lining is also equally nicely tucked in. So let's iron that. I don't know why this fabric is pulling out wool from every. It attracts every thread, every wool it sees on its way. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you very much. I appreciate. I like to iron on the wrong side first, so I'm going to be doing just that. Yeah, so you can see from the wrong side. This is one of the reasons why we trim. This is the reason why we trim the lining to be slightly shorter at the armhole. This is what happens. So the lining is shorter than the main fabric, so that when you wear your dresses, your lining is not poking out. So you only see your fabric. I don't know if you can see this. You only get to see your fabric. So I'm going to iron that now. You take your time when you're ironing around this area. There is no rush, because it is very important. You don't want your lining showing up on you anytime. Okay. This is the first one. Can you see what it looks like on the wrong side? Can you see what that area looks like? I'm going to iron the second side. So I'm done ironing at the right side. Sorry, the wrong side. I'm going to iron on the wrong side as well. Sorry, on the right side. Forgive me. I have ironed on the wrong side. I'll iron on the right side now. Okay, we're done with the ironing process. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to join my sidelines. But before then, let me show you what it looks like. I don't want to disturb this setup. I would have placed this on my mannequin so you can see what it looks like properly. But I hope you can see it from there. This is what it looks like, and this is what this looks like. Now I'm going to start joining the sideline. Remember, I didn't sew completely. This is the reason why I didn't sew completely. So this way, when I'm sewing, I'm going to be sewing. Okay, let's take it one by one so I don't mix things up. So this is my front and this is my back. What I'm going to do is to flip. You see the way I've placed it now? It is right side out for the front and right side out for the back, right? So this is the front facing me. I'm going to flip the back to the front like this. So this way, the right side of the fabric is going to be facing the right side of the lining. Oh, sorry, the right side of the fabric at the back is going to be facing the right side of the fabric at the front. So this way, at the time I'm done sewing, all my sewing allowances will be inside. It won't be visible on the outside. I would start doing that one by one, and then you will see what I mean. So the right side of my back is going to match the right side of my front, and now I will start sewing. See, I'm separating my lining now. That is why I didn't sew up to the end. So this is my back. I'm matching that on my front, and then I'll start sewing. My sewing allowance for the side is 1 inch, so I'm going to sew that in. So this is what that looks like. I'm done sewing that, and now that I've sewn fabric to fabric, I'm going to sew lining to lining. So I'm going to match the right side of my lining to the right side the right side of my lining at the back. I'm going to match it to the right side of my lining at the front. So this is it. So this is basically what I just did. I'll flip it over like this. So match the right side of my back to the right side of the front, and then I'm going to start sewing. Thank you very much, Sharon. Thank you. I appreciate. So I've also sewn this. So when I turn it out, this is what I have. Can you see now? All my sewing allowances, this is the wrong side of my fabric. All my sewing allowances are all in. These are my sewing allowances. They are all in. So what I'll just do is to come in from here and close up the hole that I have left at the armhole here. So I'm just going to flip like this and finish up that space I left when I was sewing the armhole. So I'm going to open this up and start sewing. I missed a little part. There's a little hole here, so I'm going to rip this out and sew that line again. When I'm done sewing, I'm going to notch that little area also, so the armhole can sit properly. And when I flip that, this is what I have. So this is what it looks like. When I iron, it's going to sit even better. But this is what this looks like. This is it on the right side. I've not ironed this little area. That's why you can see all of this. This is it on the wrong side. We're going to iron all of this, and this is going to sit even better. But yeah, this is what it looks like. So I'm going to just replicate the same thing on the other side. So see, this is the front. I'm going to flip the back, match the side line of the front to the side line of the back at the main fabric, and I'm going to start sewing my side allowance. I'm also going to sew the lining, the right side facing the right side. Oops, my nails broke. I need to get my needle, a new needle rather. I don't know where it is right now. It is unpicking my lining. I don't know why it's doing that to just the lining. Now that I'm done doing that, I'm also going to close this hole that I have at the armhole. So I'm going to start from one end to the other. So I'm done sewing that as well, and I'm going to notch this area so that the armhole can relax properly. And now we can iron, and after this step, after ironing, we'll be able to add our pleats and we can call it a day. So let me set my iron. I'm waiting for my iron to get hot. I don't leave my iron on because I don't want to say that I'm a very forgetful person. But I can leave it on and go to sleep, and that would be a very bad idea. So I like to put it off when I'm not using it. So I am never caught at any time where I forget the iron on and leave it on for hours. First, because of safety reasons, and also because of the high cost of electricity these days. Forgive me. So to iron this, I'm going to open up each of the side seam and iron one after the other. I'll iron on the wrong side. I'll also iron the lining on the wrong side. Then I'll iron on the right side. And then I would iron the top entirely. So I'm basically done sewing the top part of this dress. So I've ironed on the wrong side, and now I'm going to iron on the right side. So I'm going to do that to the second side. I'm done ironing the wrong side. Now over to the right side. This fabric has picked everything that got in its way. think I'm almost done ironing. So I'm done ironing. I don't know if you can see, this is what this looks like. Can you see what this looks like? This is my extended sleeve. This is what it looks like. So we're basically done with the outline. This is the inside. Like I mentioned, everything is sewn in. You cannot see the sewing allowances on the outside. It's on the inside here. So here you have it. And now we can move to the kissing pleat. So this is the fabric I'll be using for the pleats. It is about 108 inches wide. That is about 3 times the waist measurement I'm working with. So this is the fabric. And here is how I'm going to start pinning. So I'm going to open up the fabric like this. So I've opened up the fabric, right? This is one tip of the fabric. So now when I'm joining my pleats, I'm not going to sew my fabric and my lining together. The lining will be separate from the fabric, so that way all my sewing allowances are right inside. They are not visible on the wrong side of the fabric. So when I'm going to be sewing my pleats now, I'm going to sew my lining separately, and I'm going to sew my my fabric separately. So the first thing I'm going to do is to find the midpoint of my front piece. So I'm going to match the backs of my waist. So this is the waistline. I'm going to match the back, so that way I'm able to find the midpoint. So this is the midpoint of the front, right? So I'm going to make a notch on that area. So that is a notch, right? Because my front does not have a dart, I'm going to mark my my dart allowance. Where's my scissors? So these are pointers to help me know how I am going to be matching my my pleats to the main bodies. So I'm going to get my tape roll now. I use my tape roll not long ago. found it. So this is the midpoint of my top, right? I'm going to mark my nipple to nipple measurement. The one I'm working with, the nipple to nipple I'm working with is 8 inches. So half of that will be 4. So from this midpoint, I'm going to mark that midpoint. So this is the midpoint. From the midpoint, I'm going to mark my nipple to nipple, half of my nipple to nipple measurement. That will be 4 inches, right? So I'm going to mark that. So one of my pleats is going to sit at this place. I'm going to mark the same thing on the other side. So from the midpoint, I'm also going to mark my nipple to nipple measurement. That's 4 inches. So I know I'll have one kiss pleat here. I would also have another one here. That's 2. The third one will be at the side seam here. So I'm going to have a kiss pleat on the side seam, exactly on top of the side seam. I'm also going to have another one here on the second side seam. That makes it 4 in total. So 2 on the side seams, 2 at the dart points. That's the nipple to nipple points. I'm going to have 2 darts here. So that is 4 altogether. So the last one is going to be at the back. Remember that we have 1 inch sewing allowance, right? I'm going to mark that. So this is for my zipper allowance. So for my zipper allowance, I'm going to also mark my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 4 inches. I'm going to mark that. So it means I would have another kiss pleat here. So that is 1, 2, 1 at the back, 1 at the side, and also 1 in front. So we're going to replicate what we do on one side to the other side. So that means I'm going to have 6 kissing pleats all together. So I'm going to just mark the point of the second side. So I'm going to mark 1 inch that is meant to be for my zipper allowance, and from there I'm going to mark my nipple to nipple measurement. That's 4 inches, and that is going to be another placement for my kissing pleat. So I have 4 positions where my kissing pleat is going to be. So at the back is going to be at the nipple to nipple point. The second one will be at the side seam. The third one will be at the nipple to nipple point at the front, and so on like that. So I have 6 points altogether. Now that I've marked that, I'm going to get my fabric, right? So this is all the fabric I'm using. So the first thing I'm going to do is to match one end. Let me confirm if I'm working with the wrong side. Okay, I need to flip this again. So this is the side I'm working with. I'm going to match one end of my fabric to for the skirt. I'm going to match it to my back. So I'm going to match that and pin. Right. Now that I'm done doing that, I'm also going to match the second end of my fabric. The second end, I'm going to match it to my zipper allowance as well. So I've matched that. So on 2 different points, that is on my back sewing allowance, or my back zipper allowance, I have pinned the fabric I'm going to be using to pleats. I don't know if I'm communicating. So for the fabric I'm going to use for my pleats, I'm going to find the midpoint of that fabric. So this is the midpoint, right? And I'm going to match this midpoint to the midpoint of my top. So altogether, I have pinned my fabric in 3 places. So now that I've pinned the middle, what I'm going to do is from this midpoint, I'm going to match the midpoint. As I've pinned it like this, I'm going to match the midpoint to my zipper allowance at the back. I'm going to match it. I don't know if you can see. I'm going to match it like this, the midpoint. So from the point where I pinned my fabric at the midpoint, I'm going to pin it to the zipper allowance at the back. When I'm done pinning it, I'm going to find the midpoint on my fabric. That's the fabric I'm going to be using for the skirt. I'm going to find the midpoint. Here is the midpoint. I'm going to notch that area. Now when I'm done notching, that area where I notched, I'm going to match that to the side seam. I'm going to match it to the side seam here. So this helps me to ensure that the fabric is shared equally between, each of my panels. So from the midpoint as well, this is the midpoint of my top. I'm going to match it to my zipper allowance. I'm going to match it to that point and also find the midpoint of the fabric I'll be using for the skirt. I'm going to find the midpoint. And now I'm going to match the midpoint to the other side seam at this point. See my side seam. I'm going to match to this point. And now I've been able to equally distribute my fabric. So what we're going to be doing is to focus on the excess. So this is the way we'll be doing our kiss pleats. So I'm going to be starting from the back, right? Remember that we've pinned around the zipper allowance. So I'm going to start pulling the fabric towards the mark that we made at the back, the first one. You see, this is the mark. I'm going to match my fabric to that point and I'm going to pin it. After pinning it, I'm going to start from the side seam also. I'm going to pull the fabric until I get to that point that I marked. I don't know if this is clear. And then I'm going to pin it. So this means that the fabric I have right now is going to be used for my pleat. That's the excess that I have left. I don't know if you can see me. So this is the excess I have left, which means my pleats I'm going to find the midpoint of that excess, and that is going to be my pleat. I'm just trying to be No, I am making it for a client, Sharon. I'm making the dress for a client. So remember, I've matched the two at this point. I'm just trying to do it so that you can have a clear view. Hopefully I'm doing justice to that. So remember, this is the point we marked for. That's the nipple to nipple at the back. I'm going to match this point together. When I'm done matching, I'm going to flip. That's the middle of the excess here. I'm going to match it to this point. And then I'm going to spread the fabric. So that way I have done one pleat already. I'll see if I can explain that again, maybe to be clearer. So after doing that, I'm going to pin that point. So the first pleat is done. It's easier than I'm explaining it, really. It's not as complicated. So I would repeat the same process for the next pleat, and hopefully I'm able to explain it better. So this is the next point where I'll be having my pleats done. So I'm dragging this towards this pleat. Oh, I've skipped one of my pleats. I'm supposed to have one pleat here. So I think I've taken the excess that is meant to be for the pleat here. So I'm going to open this up. Sorry for the mix-up. Just trying to be sure that I have as much pleat as I should. So I'm going to find the midpoint of this place. Okay. All right, now that that is out of the way, I'm going to try my pleat again. Yeah. If it's possible, when you are pleating, I'm just trying not to make it as complicated, but it's very simple. When you get to the point where you can pull your excess together like this, you can sew about 1/2 inch around here. Let me even try that process. So this is where my pleat is supposed to sit. I will pull all my excesses towards that area. I'm going to pull my excesses towards that area, right? And then I'll sew down about 0.5 to 1 inch. So that way I secure everything in place. So I'm going to go right now and sew about 1 inch. It's not as complicated, but because I'm filming with my phone, oops, I'm just trying to cover as much as I can. All right. So now that I'm done sewing that area, can you see? For the excess, I've sewn down by about 1 inch, so I can easily open up this excess like this. You can find the midpoint, open it up and match it to the area where you have sewn. Don't know if you can see this. You match it and your pleat is ready. You're basically done with your pleats. So I can go on and pin that, and that sorts out the pleats. And I'll repeat the same process for the other pleats. I think that makes it look easy rather. So the next pleat is going to sit at the sideline. So I'm going to pull all the excess fabric towards that sideline at the center where the pleat should sit. So I've pulled all the fabric together. And at the point where they meet, I'm going to sew down about 1 inch, like I did for the other side. I think this process just makes doing the pleat easier. Okay, so now that I've identified, I can mark that point. I've identified where the fabric meets, and I'm going to sew in that point. All right. Checking to see if nothing is on the way. Okay, I've also gone ahead to sew that about 1 inch, and then I'll find the midpoint of the excess. I'll find the midpoint and then match that to the line. I can see, you see a sewing line, match it, and second pleat is also done. And then I can go ahead and pleat that, and pin rather, and pin it. I need to charge my phone. All right, now that we're done with that, we'll continue with the rest of the pleats. It's easier when you pin because sewing becomes easier. You just sew on the straight line and you will be done. But because I need to explain, if I was doing this off camera, I'll probably not go through this process. But yeah. I'm thinking of having a pleat at the front as well. So I'm going to be sharing this excess. Okay. I'm also going to be pulling all the excess together. It's basically the same process, really. And I'll also pin that. So I've pinned where the excess meets. I'm just going to arrange everything so that when I'm sewing, I'll sew all of them at once. I think I'll just go off camera, but I'm sure I've been able. I'm not exactly. I can't exactly say I'm sure, but I think I've been able to fold this enough for you to understand how this is done, or so that I don't take like more time. I'm just going to fold that back, or let me just hold on and do that here. Okay, this is the excess here.